All right. Today, what we are going to do on live is we're going to talk about the power of self-compassion in parenting and why um, being kind to self is really crucial in all of our parenting. So I'm going to try and touch on some of those topics. Um, all right. So to start off, parenting is truly one of the most challenging yet rewarding experiences that we can have in life. There's always something happening in parenting where you feel like you're succeeding, but then the next moment you feel like you're failing. But there's the immense responsibility for really shaping a child's future can oftentimes leave a lot of parents feeling a little bit overwhelmed or a lot of bit overwhelmed and inadequate a lot. So like when you do have a failure in your parenting day, you feel like you are ruining your child for the whole life, their whole life, which is just not true. But in the midst of trying to be the perfect parent, it's really easy to forget about your own needs and your own emotions because you're so busy um, really trying to take care of your kids that you forget about what you need while you're trying to help them regulate emotions. You're maybe not working on how to regulate your own. And really, the goal in parenting, which it gets so lost, is that we need to take care of ourselves before we can take care of anyone else. Put the mask on first, as they say. But this is kind of where the concept of self compassion really becomes crucial in all of this because it doesn't only benefit your parent like the parents, but like I just said, it also benefits the children because when you're not being as hard on yourself, you're able to be not as hard on your kids. So this is going to kind of explore the power of self-compassion in parenting. This is going to draw from the insights of the book "You're Not a Shitty Parent" I read, and I thought it was really good. But there's some other relevant resources in it as well. All right. So let's see. Let's talk about understanding self-compassion. That's something that we want to start with. What is it? Sorry, I have some notes, but I just want to make sure that I get them all right. It's the teacher in me. What is self-compassion? Self-compassion involves treating oneself, with kindness, with understanding, and also forgiveness. It means that you are going to acknowledge that imperfection is really a part of the human experience, which a lot of us kind of forget, and really making mistakes or opportunities for growth rather than um, reasons for self-criticism. And a lot of us, we think when we make a mistake that it's a failure, and that's a lot that has been learned in our earlier years of life. So, for example, like growing up for me, if you made a mistake or you did something wrong that was very bad, it was always related to bad, no matter what the mistake was. It could have been something that was bad, or it could have been something that's good. But it obviously transforms into parenthood. And that is something that we really need to learn that making a mistake only means that you have room to grow and you can figure out how to do a better job next time. Um, just in yourself. But a lot of us, again, we lose the self-compassion in parenting. And self-compassion really is comprised of three main components. The first is self-kindness. The next is common humanity. And then obviously there's mindfulness, which is very important for us to do as well. And applying all these principles to parenting can really transform the way that you view, yourself, you view your relationships with your kids, and it's going to bring a lot more lightness into your life, um, and happiness. So let's talk about the importance of self-compassion in parenting. So first, it is going to reduce your parental stress and anxiety when you give yourself self-compassion, because a lot of that really stems from the anxiety and stress of parenting stems from not doing your best. And I think about this often, like I was thinking about it as we're getting ready to go away for a little while. And it's like, the house has to be perfectly clean before you leave. So when you come back, it's spotless. Like, who is judging us on that? I don't know, but I'm stressed about making sure that the house is clean before we leave, which is not something that if the house doesn't get clean, my children are safe, I'm safe, where does that judgment that my house has to be clean come from? But, parenting in general is stressful. There's daily challenges ranging from, tantrums to juggling the balance of work and family, responsibilities, and that can get very stressful, but self-compassion is gonna really help to reduce the stress and anxiety by providing, like, a buffer kind of against the relentless pressure that we, again, often place on ourselves. And it's there's just so much stress coming from all different areas. So when parents are practicing self-kindness, they're less likely to kind of engage in negative self-talk, which happens often, and they're more likely to approach situations with a more calm and balanced mindset. So as I've said in a lot of my videos, and follow me on Instagram or TikTok in my lives there, we are the ones that talk to ourselves the most. We are from birth to death, we're the ones in our minds that are talking to ourselves. And when you're constantly having a voice in your mind, you're not good enough, you're not doing a good enough job, you're failing. These are all things that are going to affect your daily life, whether you want to admit it or not. You might think like, "Oh, well, I'm successful in all these other ways," but I still talk to myself really negatively. That is subconsciously doing something for you, and just changing that self-talk to, "You made a mistake, it's not a big deal. Let's move forward from it." That's something that's really important. The next thing when you start being kind to yourself is that you're gonna be able to improve your emotional regulation, which is also something, we're trying to, again, work with our children, but a lot of the times when we have a freak out or a meltdown, it's because just like a child, we can't emotionally regulate ourselves. And even though, as an adult, when we see as an adult we can't do this, how do you think your children, whose brain is not even close to being developed, feel during this time? So again, when you learn how to regulate your emotions, you can then help teach your children to regulate their emotions. And a big step in this is being kind to yourself. And so self compassion is going to do this by really allowing you to kind of recognize and most importantly accept that you can have emotions without judgment. Again, nobody's judging you besides yourself. This acceptance can really make it easier to manage intense feelings, and then therefore you can respond to your children's needs with more patience, with more empathy. Um, and one thing in the book that was kind of pointed out is that self compassion isn't really about excusing poor behavior, because a lot of times in parenting, a lot of there's a very blurred line of making excuses and being accountable, but being self compassionate, having self compassion for yourself is not excusing your behavior. It's really just about understanding it and then addressing it. And really addressing the underlying emotions that are driving it. Because, like, for me personally, I know when I have like a freak out for my kids, I'm pretty laid back most of the time. And honestly, from teaching, I've had to work a lot on my emotional regulation because I'm dealing with hundreds of students every day, that have all different needs and wants and have all different reactions. And, if I had an emotional reaction to every student who had an outburst, it would I would not be able to be teaching anymore. So luckily for me, I can talk to other people about the 13 plus years of work that I've had to do on myself. And then by the time I had kids, I just took those skills into parenting, to be able to be a little calmer in situations and not be so emotionally impacted. But there are plenty of times when I do lose my cool. And I can self reflect on that and say, okay, why did I lose my cool at this situation? All right, I'm tired. I'm overstimulated. I have all these things going on. I'm stressed. That's okay. Let's recognize that. And then next time that I'm feeling any of those things, tired, overstimulated, stressed, I can remember that when my kid is also having feeling, maybe we need to teach them a little bit more. And one thing that we do a lot of times, it's so silly, and I never thought that I would be one to be doing it. Do you need a hug? I just ask kids, do you need a hug? And now, whenever one of my kids is having a meltdown, like, the other one will go, like, "Hug? Do you need a hug?" And I think that's really cute because most of the time they actually do say, "Yes, I need a hug." And they just need someone there for support, and wouldn't that be nice for us too if we had that? So that's just another thing, once you start to learn to be able to regulate your emotions, once your kids are having these meltdowns, you can deal with them a little bit differently. The next thing, it's gonna kind of align right with this, is that you're modeling healthy behavior for children. Children learn by observing their parents. When you are practicing self-compassion, they will model, healthy ways to kinda deal with their failures and also their setbacks. This is gonna really help to kind of teach children to treat themselves kindly, which is what we want. That's our goal in life, and to approach challenges really with resilience, which is another thing a lot of kids in this generation are lacking is resilience. And that has a lot to do with I read the book The Anxious Generation, gave me so many eye-opening tips, for looking at why kids are the way they are, and being in front of TVs and phones is really, taking away a lot from their childhood in building the resilience and learning how to deal with challenges, which again is going to go right into adulthood. And when you're an adult, you're not going to be able to deal with those things. So it's really important that you work on being kind to yourself and learning from your mistakes so your children can see that and do the same as well. Um, I just think it's such a valuable tool for emotional well-being for your kids, and again, for yourself as well. Um, and that's really what we need most. So what are some strategies to do this? I'll kind of go hopefully quickly through this because it's getting a little longer than I want, but I could talk forever. Um, but the first is very simple. It's self-kindness, being kind to yourself, treating yourself the way, as I always say, that you would treat a friend, the same concern you would treat a friend. If you're sitting with a friend at dinner who came to you with a major issue, you would never sit there and say, "You're a terrible mom, you're a terrible person." Um, you know, you're a terrible human. Like that's just not something that you would do. So really treat yourself with kindness. Taking care of taking a part of self-care activities like just taking breaks, finding a hobby, and really seeking support when needed. Um, a ho- Hobbies are hard for us to figure out and find, and just finding something that you really love that maybe it doesn't cost a lot of money because a lot of hobbies are expensive, but trying to find something, even if it's like coloring, that's something simple. It's very good for our mental health, and it can be you can do it for 10 minutes, you can do it for 5 minutes. Journaling, watching your favorite show. I know something involved in that. Reading a book. Also giving yourself permission to rest and recharge and recognizing really that self-care is not selfish, but it's essential and for, effective parenting. But the resting and recharging is hard for a lot of us. I know it is for me. Um, when I'm sitting, I feel like I could be doing a bunch of other things, which is, it's hard, but it's really necessary. The next is understanding that all parents face challenges, um, because when we're in the moment, we kinda think, like, "It's just me. I'm the only one that is going through this." Um, but the reality is that so many parents are going through the same things, and so connecting with other parents, sharing experiences with them, that can really help you to gain a perspective, and find support. The power in connecting with the power of connection in reducing feelings of shame and judgment is really something that all parents need to do. They need to be reminded that they're not alone in all of their struggles. And then the third thing is going to be mindfulness. Mindfulness it really boils down to being present in the moment and just accepting it without judgment. So a lot of times people think mindfulness and they think like, oh, I have to go to like a yoga retreat or I have to go meditate for 10 hours a day. Like you just want to get to the point where you are being mindful. You are not thinking about what's outside of what's happening right in front of you. It means paying attention to your own needs, paying attention to your own emotions, as well as those those of your children. You can do meditation, you can do deep breathing. Again, you can do coloring. Anything that lets you, like, zone out and concentrate to stay grounded, is very much like a way to gain clarity and essentially compassion. Um, yeah, so I guess that's really some of the things that I wanted to focus on today. There's so many things that I want to touch on in the future, but just remember, like, you don't have to be perfect. Let go of your perfectionism. Being a parent involves making mistakes. Like, your parents weren't perfect. You're never going to be perfect as much as you want to be. You really want to focus on your progress over perfection and work on celebrating those small victories. A lot of us feel guilt and shame as parents. It's very common emotions, but a lot of times it stems from unrealistic expectations and then a societal pressure, which again, who's making up these rules? Having self compassion can really help you to navigate the feelings and foster self acceptance, and give yourself forgiveness and really acknowledge that you are a human and challenges you are going to face challenges, and you can kind of, when you release that shame and guilt, you're gonna get more confident. So to kind of wrap it up, the power of self-compassion in parenting, it can't be overstated. Treat yourself with kindness, understanding, and mindfulness. Doing this, you can reduce stress, you can improve emotional regulation, you can model healthy behavior for your kids. And there's tons of books and information out there. There's lots of strategies that you can do to incorporate self-compassion into everyday life. Remember, be kind to yourself. It's not only crucial for your well-being, but it's also the well-being of your children. Embrace self-compassion, and you're really going to find that you're not just a good parent, but you are a thriving one, and you are doing amazing things. So stay tuned. Feel free to subscribe, like, and share. I'm also on Instagram at the running wine mom underscore. I am on TikTok at the running wine mom underscore, and my podcast is the running wine mom, where we share many more wonderful guests and their uh, take on parenting and all the wonderful things that they're doing in life. So have a good day, and I hope to see everyone soon.